The series opens in Mexico with a man named Miguel. That day, Wilson drops him off at the hotel where he works, and Miguel thanks his uncle and sees him off. We learn Miguel's been working there a while, though he's absent far more than he shows up, always leaving a coworker to cover for him. He's a total people person, and he moves through the lobby greeting the guests, most of whom he's already befriended. He makes his way over to a guest named Lily. Turns out, she and Miguel were a couple once. They broke up, she left the country, and she's only just come back to Mexico. Miguel knows her well, and he knows she's brilliant. With her brains and her beauty, she can reel in any man she likes, play him, and clean out his wallet. So he starts feeding her intel on all the men around them, helping her pick her next mark. Lily's a genius. She catches the tiniest details and reads the man in front of her, deciding whether he's the right target. She's already turned down more than one, each for her own reason. As they talk, a young guy named Lucas comes over to greet Miguel. Lucas comes from a seriously rich family, and his mother owns the hotel. Lily's known him since he was a kid, and she's stunned at how completely he's changed. That night, Miguel's up late at the hotel bar, where a drunk man named Luis happens to be sitting beside him. Luis pulls up a news story on his phone about a treasure lost for years and starts reading it aloud. Miguel chimes in, telling him his own father, Juan, is the archaeologist who first spoke about that treasure. Luis lights up and asks to meet Juan, but Miguel shuts it down, saying he's away on a business trip. So Luis starts talking about himself. He says his great-great-grandfather, Francisco, was the one who found this treasure, along with two friends. The gold originally belonged to the last ruler of the Maya, the man who discovered the metal and spent his whole life gathering it from every corner of the world. In the end, he hid it all away, and when he died, it was buried with him inside his pyramid. Legend says it's a staggering hoard with one piece at its heart, a jaguar of pure gold, said to hold the power to raise the ruler from the dead. Luis reveals he's got a map that leads straight to it. Miguel asks to see it, and Luis agrees, but only if they head up to his room. Miguel holds him upright the whole way there. Inside, Luis pulls off his shirt and shows him the map, tattooed across his stomach, and Miguel knows it's the real deal the moment he spots Francisco's signature. Luis asks him to convince his father to join the hunt, but strangely, Miguel refuses. Why? He won't say. Instead, he offers to help Luis himself for half the treasure. With that, he leaves Luis to sleep it off and heads out. The next morning, Miguel's up early and dives into the pool to shake off the night, then heads to Luis's room to work out the details. But to his surprise, the room's empty. He figures Luis just stepped out and will be back. Later, Miguel decides to visit his father, Juan, who's living in a nursing home. It turns out Juan has advanced Alzheimer's, sometimes even forgetting who Miguel is. That's why Miguel lies to everyone, saying he's off traveling. He always brings his father cigarettes since the nurses won't let him buy his own. During the visit, Juan asks his son whether he's finally found a respectable job or whether he and his uncle Wilson are still working as thieves. Miguel just ignores it. He once joined his father on every single expedition. Flipping through a magazine, he learns that a young archaeologist named Ariel is about to open his own museum. We learn Ariel was once one of Juan's students, and Juan always measured the two of them against each other, convinced Ariel was by far the sharper one. Ariel's a selfish young man who thinks only of himself, hungry to amass as many artifacts as he can for his museum, and nothing else matters to him. But Juan's illness has wiped all of that away, so every so often he asks after Ariel, hurt that he never visits. Miguel finds an invitation that arrived for Juan to attend the opening, and he decides to hide it, knowing his father could never manage to go in his condition. We drift back in time to when Miguel was a little boy. Juan used to take him along on his expeditions, and one day, Miguel was the one behind the wheel. When they reached the site, Juan told him to wait in the car, and if he was gone too long, to go to his uncle Wilson. Juan headed down to explore the spot, only to discover others had gotten there before him. He started moving carefully so none of them would notice, but they spotted him anyway and meant to kill him. Miguel stepped in at just the right moment, aiming a gun at their leader. To his misfortune, the leader wrenched the gun away from him, and right then the charge Juan had buried in the sand to test for gold detonated. Juan seized the chance, grabbed his son, and ran for the car. But Miguel wanted them to pay, so he flung his lighter beside the gang's motorcycle as it leaked fuel. A blast followed, though they never knew what became of the gang. Back in the present, Miguel starts running his father through the mental exercises the doctor asked for, but Juan refuses to answer, saying nobody can stop this disease anyway. It cuts Miguel deep, and he's left with nothing to say. On his way out, the home's director tells him they want more money to keep his father there. Rattled, Miguel promises she'll have it soon. One day, we see Miguel leading two tourists into a small cave where a stone figure rises up in front of them. He convinces them it's an artifact and starts haggling over a price to sell it and smuggle it out of the country for them. Out of nowhere, a man barges in and tells the tourists Miguel's a con artist, smashing the statue in front of them to prove it's no artifact at all. The tourists round on Miguel until Wilson shows up right on time, posing as an officer there to arrest Miguel for stealing antiquities. He hauls him out from the middle of them and walks off. Wilson's used to rescuing Miguel from situations like this because he loves him and treats him like his own son. That night, Miguel's talking with his uncle Wilson, telling him about the money the nursing home wants. He's aching to find the man from the hotel so they can start hunting for the treasure and cover the home's fees. It moves his uncle, who says that if he had the money, he wouldn't hesitate for a second to hand it over. But right now, he's flat broke. He agrees to join Miguel on the treasure hunt, saying he's been out of the con game for ages. We learn Wilson was a master forger, able to fake or copy anything without anyone catching on. The next day, Luis's body is found in the sea, murdered, a piece of his skin flayed away. That's the very spot where the map was, as if someone meant to erase the clue so no one else could reach the treasure. A detective named Inez takes the case and starts gathering information on Luis. Miguel feels sick when he learns what happened, burning to know who did it. It comes out that Miguel photographed the map and kept the pictures on his phone, but he says they don't show the coordinates. Wow, so they're useless for reaching the treasure. Wilson's convinced it's nothing more than a legend, but Miguel is set on proving it for himself. He knows his father drew a map to the treasure's location, since Juan was searching for it and obsessed with it before the Alzheimer's took hold. Ariel has stolen that map and put it on display in his museum. So Miguel decides to steal it back during the opening, just 2 days away. He'll have Lucas kill the alarm system, since he's an expert with that kind of thing, and Lily will help him pull off the heist. Wilson's job is to forge them invitations so they can get into the party. As they talk, a thief darts past and snatches Miguel's phone, then bolts. Miguel chases her down until she dives into the sea and slips away. 3 minutes pass and she's still underwater, so he gives up hope of finding her. As always, Wilson steps in right on time, spotting the girl climbing out of the water on the far side. He goes to her, and she realizes he's no cop, just a con man. Miguel catches up to them, and the girl senses she's got no chance of escape, so she's forced to hand Miguel back his phone. Her bag, it turns out, is stuffed with stolen phones. She leaves them and walks off. From a distance, someone is watching them, and the map taken from Luis's skin is in his hands, but who he is stays a mystery. Elsewhere, Miguel and Wilson go to meet Lily as she's heading out with her dog. Miguel asks her to help them steal the map that'll lead them to a fortune, but she refuses, scoffing that Miguel spent his whole life chasing treasure legends and never found a thing. She walks off and leaves them. That same day, Inez manages to learn the name of the hotel Luis was staying at and decides to search his room, but she finds nothing, so she settles on taking the security footage, hoping it leads somewhere. Lily, meanwhile, lures in a fresh victim and takes him to her room to rob him. She slips out quickly afterward, only to be stunned by police arriving to arrest her for fraud. She has no choice but to call Miguel to come bail her out. He borrows the money from Lucas to cover it. We learn Miguel is the one who tipped off the police, doing it to force her into working with them. Lily reluctantly agrees, never knowing Miguel turned her in. They all gather at Lucas's room. His family's away and has left him piles of cash, so he does as he pleases and spends their money with no one watching over him. Lucas assures them he can break into the museum's security system with ease. Miguel walks them through the plan. The opening starts at 9 in the morning, with Ariel there to welcome the guests. Miguel says they'll cut the museum's air conditioning. Minutes later, Lily enters on the forged invitation and asks to see certain books, since the map is in that same room with them. She'll steal the key from a worker and plant a tracker in the room, so when Miguel follows her in, he can find the spot. Ariel will have no choice but to call someone to fix the AC, and that's Lily's cue to disguise herself as an employee and send the workers away, claiming it's already fixed. In come Miguel and Wilson, dressed as the repair crew. The two head up to the roof, and from there, Miguel's job is to slip in through the ventilation shafts. Execution time arrives and every step lands. Lucas guides Miguel along the right path to the room until he reaches the maps and starts photographing them. He changes his clothes fast to step out into the party as an ordinary guest. But they discover the place is rigged with infrared, and the instant it senses Miguel, the room's entrance seals shut, and he's trapped inside. Lucas tries to fix the problem, but learns it'll take hours to override. So Lily decides to grab Wilson and go get him out of there. Bored out of his mind, Miguel lights a cigarette, triggering the fire suppression system, which begins sucking every bit of oxygen out of the room. He weakens fast and is on the verge of death. Lucas tries to shut the system down, but fails. Ariel is with the guests just then, walking them through the history of each artifact, when one of his men tells him something's going wrong in that room. He leaves his assistant to finish the talk and heads up to check. The footage shows the room completely empty. Yet the alarm is active, so Ariel senses something's off and decides to go up and make sure. We learn Lucas managed to hack the surveillance feed and froze an old image to make the room appear empty. Ariel is startled to find Lily sitting on the floor, upset, saying someone spilled a drink on her dress and her heel snapped. But he's suspicious of her, especially since she's in a staff-only area, and he decides to search her. When he finds an invitation on her, he's embarrassed and apologizes, then leaves her to go check the room. In that window, the gang manages to stop the fire suppression system, and Miguel slips out the room's back door at the last second before Ariel arrives. Ariel is certain someone broke in, especially when he sees the ventilation shaft standing open. A little later, he spots Miguel among the guests and suspects he's the intruder, so he decides to search him. Lily moves close to Miguel and manages to lift his phone so Ariel won't find the photos on him. Ariel is puzzled to learn Lily and Miguel know each other, and it deepens his suspicion since he'd seen Lily beside the secret room. He backs off and doesn't search Miguel, but he's clearly planning to keep an eye on him. We then see Lily and Miguel leaving the opening. They collect Wilson, who's waiting outside, and head back to Lucas's place. Lucas makes each of them hand over their phone to stash in the fridge so no one can track their location. They print the photos from Miguel's phone, then set it with the rest. Matching the map from Luis's body against the one Juan drew, they discover the treasure lies among 3 water wells, and they're stuck on which one to search. Just then, Wilson leaves to grab his phone, and Lucas realizes someone's been spying on them through it. They round on him in a fury. Lily, though, cracks the riddle and pinpoints the well holding the treasure, but she says a wrong one out loud, so the person watching them gets thrown off even further. The 4 then set out for the right well, only to be caught off guard when Inés arrives at the hotel to arrest Miguel, having learned from the footage that he was the last person to see Luis before the murder. Miguel and Lucas run, and Inés chases them, but she can't catch them since they pile into the car with Wilson and escape. We learn their mission needs a professional diver, so Miguel decides to turn to the girl who stole his phone 2 days ago. Her name is Citlali, and she comes from a very poor family, supporting her mother and siblings. The moment she hears Miguel will pay her $20,000 for a one-day job, she agrees on the spot. They borrow from Lucas to give her part of her cut up front, since she won't work unless she gets a share first. The 5 then set out for the well. Meanwhile, we see the mysterious man who's been watching them since the plan began, revealed as the one eavesdropping on them. He reaches the wrong well to search for the treasure and learns from his diver that the passage is too narrow to enter. The mysterious man kills him without a flicker of hesitation and orders his men to find a slimmer diver. On the road, the 5 run headlong into a checkpoint and notice the officer is holding a photo of Miguel. They work up a plan to escape. Miguel and Wilson step out to talk to the police, claiming they're thieves with stolen goods in the car's trunk, playing it like they're full of remorse. The officer orders them to open the bag, and that's Lily and Lucas's cue to blast them with a fire extinguisher. Miguel and Wilson pile in fast, while Citlali takes the wheel to speed them away from the police. She threads them through the strangest back routes and loses the cops. A little later, the 5 reach the well, and now it's Citlali's turn to dive. She pulls on the wetsuit and takes an oxygen tank with her. Lucas has given her an earpiece to stay in contact, though she can't reply, plus a walkie-talkie to speak to him once she surfaces, and a device so he can track her location. They give her the treasure spot from the map so she can go searching. Lucas clearly has a thing for her, which leaves him terrified for her safety. Just then, Wilson asks what they'll do with their shares if they find the treasure. Miguel says he'll take his father on a trip around the world, maybe the last thing they do together. Lily says she has no dreams. Lucas says he won't do anything new, that he'll keep playing the video games he loves. But he'll buy himself a house so he can live alone and play for hours with no interruptions from his mother. Elsewhere, Citlali reaches the narrow passage and has to leave the oxygen tank behind and press on without it. The tracker was attached to the tank, so on Lucas's screen it looks like she's stopped moving. Scared something's happened to her, he decides to take a small tank and go check on her, and he's overjoyed to find she's fine. A little later, the two come back, Citlali having found a small locked box. When they open it, they discover a stone shaped like a moon, and they gather that this is what will lead them to the treasure. Citlali sets a condition. She gets 20% of the treasure once they find it. They have no choice but to agree. As they climb out, they discover the mysterious man and his crew have seized Wilson. He knows they found the moonstone and orders them to hand it over in exchange for Wilson's release. Miguel fires back. Free his friend first, or he throws the stone into the water. The mysterious man is forced to let them go so he can take the stone, but Miguel tricks him and swallows it, refusing to let this man have it. Enraged, the mysterious man orders his crew to seize Miguel and kill his friends. Each of the four bolts in a different direction to escape them. Lucas is terrified, not used to any of this, so Citlali tries to calm him, telling him to imagine he's in one of his video games, and her trick actually works. Lucas settles. As for Wilson and Lily, one of the men manages to grab them and starts beating Wilson. Lily jumps in and cracks him over the head, but the man grabs a knife and stabs Wilson in the legs. Lily hits him again, and this time he drops unconscious. Wilson feels nothing at all because the man stabbed his prosthetic leg. They watch as the crew loads Miguel into Wilson's car and escapes, powerless to do anything against their numbers and their weapons, terrified of losing Miguel. So Lucas gathers his courage and decides to steal a motorcycle and follow them. He manages to attach a tracker to the car so they can learn where Miguel's being taken. They bring Miguel to a large resort where the mysterious man decides to have one of his men cut open Miguel's stomach and pull out the stone. At the last second, he gets a call from his boss, who orders him not to harm Miguel and to bring a doctor to extract the stone instead. The mysterious man learns the doctor is busy and can't come until the next day. As eager as he is to reach the treasure fast, he's forced to follow orders and wait. He lies to Miguel, telling him they've killed all his friends. Lucas, meanwhile, pinpoints their location through the tracker and decides to head there and try to free Miguel. Using his drone, he sees the crew is far too large, and he sends the drone over to Miguel to reassure him. Miguel gathers his friends are still alive and feels a rush of relief. The mysterious man spots the drone and orders his men to find its owner fast. Frightened, Lucas flees, running until he reaches the forest. There he calls Wilson, tells them everything that's happened, and begs them to reach him as fast as they can because he's scared. After a lot of thought, Lily decides to turn to a man named Octavio, who's sitting on his boat. He startles at the sense of movement around him and rushes to grab his rifle, but Lily calms him and reminds him who she is. We learn the two were once together, that Octavio was a soldier before he turned to crime, with deep experience in killing and planning, though he's left all that behind now. Lily fills him in on the treasure and tells him they need his help. Octavio refuses, insisting he's done with that life and doesn't need the money. So Lily reminds him of the crushing debts hanging over him, the ones that drove him to hide out on this boat. Embarrassed, Octavio has no choice but to agree. They take a portion of his weapons and head to Lucas. Octavio then lays out a plan and orders each of them to stick to it. The next morning, they storm the place, and in no time, Octavio takes down a huge number of the crew. Elsewhere, the doctor arrives and immediately starts cutting open Miguel's stomach to pull out the stone, while Wilson begins planting explosives around the building. The mysterious man notices a large number of his men have vanished and decides to go see for himself. He's stunned to find them all dead and comes face to face with Octavio, the one who killed every last one. He draws his gun to kill him, but in that instant, the bombs go off and the building collapses. Miguel wasn't inside it, so nothing happens to him. Citlali and Lucas rush in and find him unconscious. They force the doctor to stitch the wound fast, then take Miguel and escape. Wilson is waiting for them in his car, which he's managed to recover, and they wait for Octavio, who slips out just before the building blows. The six move out together. We learn the mysterious man also managed to escape before the blast, and he's shocked to discover they took Miguel before the stone came out. On the road, Lily talks with Wilson and tells him she came back specifically to see him. We learn there are people hunting her, people who want her dead, which is why she asks Wilson to make her a new identity so she can escape with it and live somewhere new, out of their reach. The six reach the hotel, where Lucas takes her to his room. Miguel is stunned to learn they promised Octavio $1 million for his help, but he's stuck seeing the deal through, especially after Octavio saved his life. Miguel then leaves them and goes into the bathroom, where he manages to pass the stone. He says no one can tell them what this stone is for except his father, Juan. So he takes Wilson, and they head to the nursing home. There, they start questioning Juan, who remembers nothing connected to the treasure. But the instant he sees the stone, it comes back to him. He says there are two other stones they must find to reach the treasure, the Earth Stone and the Sunstone. When they ask where those two are, he says he doesn't know. Juan mocks his son, suggesting he ask Ariel for help since he's the sharper one. Stung, Miguel walks out and leaves them. It weighs on Wilson, who clearly loves Miguel and worries about his feelings. So he goes out to talk to him and offer some comfort. The moment they leave the building, Miguel remembers his father writes everything in his journals, so he decides to go back in and search for them. He's caught off guard by a group of the mysterious man's crew coming to kidnap his father. Miguel watches them take Juan right before his eyes, powerless to stop them. When he returns to his friends, he's stunned to find Inés has tracked them down and arrested them. She moves toward Miguel to arrest him too, but he collapses from sheer exhaustion, so she orders them to take him to the hospital. The other 5 are hauled to the station for questioning. Inés starts interrogating each of them alone, desperate to learn what they're planning. She recognizes Octavio from before and knows he's taken part in plenty of heists, which convinces her they're plotting something big, but none of them says a word. Just then, a summons reaches Inés, and she discovers her ex-husband wants to take their son from her. She breaks down, calls him, and they fight before she slams the phone down in his face. She's forced back to work and interrogates Miguel once he's come to, showing him a photo of Luis. Miguel admits they met, but insists they didn't kill him. When she asks why his skin was flayed, Miguel tenses up. Inés guesses there was a code, a map, or a number on his skin, which is why the killer flayed it to take it. The instant she says the word map, Miguel tenses hard, and she concludes her hunch was right. When Miguel says the map leads to a treasure, Inés scoffs and doesn't believe him. Once he's well enough, they take him to the holding cell with the rest of his crew. Inés then does some digging and reads about the lost treasure, learning the moonstone leads to it, and she realizes Miguel wasn't lying to her after all. The gang is caught off guard when the police let them go. Right then, Miguel discovers the stone is gone. Afterward, they meet with Ariel and learn Lily is the one who reached out to him and asked him to get them out. It irritates Miguel, who wants to repay the bail money as soon as possible, but Ariel assures him he paid nothing, that the director owed him a favor and agreed to release them for it. Ariel then changes the subject, saying he wants to meet Juan, that he went looking for him at the nursing home and couldn't find him, but Miguel refuses to tell him anything. Inés, meanwhile, goes off on her boss for releasing them without telling her. He shoots back that there was no evidence against them, so holding them was illegal. Because of everything that's happened, Octavio wants out, and it turns out Citlali wants out too. Miguel begs them to stay by his side until he saves his father, but they refuse. In that moment, a call comes from the mysterious man, who wants the 3 stones as fast as possible and threatens each of them with the thing they hold most dear. He threatens Miguel and Wilson that he'll kill Juan since he's the one who took him. He threatens Citlali that he'll kill her siblings. He threatens to take Octavio's boat. Lili, he threatens with killing her dog, and Lucas with burning down his family's hotel. So the 6 are forced to work together to find the last 2 stones. Elsewhere, Inés connects with her son over a video call, and it turns out he's deaf. She promises him she'll take him back from his father soon. Suddenly, the father walks in, orders the boy back to his studies, then mocks Inés, saying he'll take the child from her. We learn he bribed the judge to declare her a negligent mother so he can take the boy. He taunts her that her salary will never cover the lawyer she'd need to fight him. It enrages Inés, who's ready to do anything to get her son back. The 6 settle into Wilson's travel agency, with the mysterious man's crew watching them. Miguel starts telling them the story of the stones. Long ago, 3 Spanish conquistadors arrived on the peninsula in the early 16th century. The mistress of one of them told him the tale of the treasure and took him there to see it for himself. The 3 then decided to steal it without passing the information to the Spanish royal court. Miguel doesn't know the rest of the story, so he says he has to go to the nursing home and search for his father's journals. The problem is the 3 men watching them. Lily decides to step out in front of them to peel one away, heading to the nail salon, forcing that man to stay and watch her. Octavio manages to slip down to their car and stay clamped underneath it so that when the crew returns to their boss, he can pinpoint their location, find Juan, and rescue him. Miguel and Wilson take the car and drive off, drawing one of the crew after them, while the 3rd man stays to watch the place. Lucas is hidden on the roof, waiting for the man watching the house to contact his boss so they can learn his phone number. Citlali leaves them to go check on her siblings and her mother. Halfway there, Miguel throws himself from the car to reach the nursing home without the man noticing, who keeps tailing Wilson, still thinking Miguel is with him. Miguel manages to reach the journals and takes them. A little later, the man notices Miguel isn't in the car. and stunned, he doubles back to search for him. Lily disguises herself as a cleaner to leave the salon without the man seeing her, then goes to Ariel's house. She's curious why Miguel hates him, and Ariel guesses it's because Juan loved him more, which made Miguel jealous. Ariel scoffs at the whole treasure business, seeing it as nothing but a legend, and shows her a picture he has of the 3 conquistadors who found it. From the picture, Lily learns the Earth Stone is shaped like a tree. She leaves him and walks off. Drawing on his skills, Lucas manages to get the mysterious man's number from a call he makes to one of his men, and he hands it to Miguel. Miguel calls the mysterious man and asks to speak to his father if he wants the 3 stones. The man is forced to hand the phone to Juan, and Miguel seizes the chance to ask him where the rest of the stones are, having learned from the journals that the 3 stones are 3 keys to the box holding the treasure. Juan explains the 3 conquistadors didn't trust one another, so they decided to place the treasure in a box that opens only with 3 keys used together, each man taking 1, so no one could open it without the others. Juan guesses the remaining stones were buried with the conquistadors' bodies. Miguel then heads back to the hotel, stunned to find Ines waiting there. She forces him to bring her into the operation, since she needs money fast. We learn she's agreed to join the gang to steal the treasure so she can get her son back. Miguel discovers she has the moonstone, that she stole it from him, so he has no choice but to agree to let her join. Elsewhere, Octavio manages to reach the gang's location, but finds Juan isn't there. So he gathers they've moved him somewhere else. The mysterious man goes to visit the person who hired him, and we discover it's Ariel, who's convinced the treasure is real. The 6 learn the conquistadors were buried in churches when they died, so they split into 2 groups, each searching for a stone where its owner was buried. Lily, Octavio, Lucas, and Citlali are one team. They lie to the church priest, claiming Citlali is possessed by an evil spirit and comes from a very wealthy family, that Octavio, posing as a priest, has come to drive the spirit out, with Lucas as his assistant. Lily takes on the role of a nun and hands the priest money as a reward from the girl's family, so he'll let them perform the ritual in the church. Lily says the ritual has to take place in the catacombs, and the priest is forced to agree. Octavio and his team begin searching for the box until they find it, and inside it lies the Earth Stone. The moment they leave, the priest discovers the money is fake and gathers their con artists, but he's too late to do anything. Elsewhere, Miguel and Wilson make up the second team, and the 2 head to a warehouse after learning that the church where their man was buried had been robbed before, so everything was moved into storage. There they find an expensive necklace among the man's belongings and steal it, then find the sunstone and grab it fast. To their shock, security guards sense their presence and they're arrested and taken to the regional station. There, Ines decides to break them out so the plan can succeed and she can claim her share and save her son. When they get back to the hotel, Ines comes to visit them, so Miguel is forced to explain the deal between them. The gang objects to what's happening, but they have no choice but to agree, knowing full well that if they refuse, Ines could easily throw them in jail. They then gather the 3 stones and start thinking about the next move. As they talk, Lucas's mother and father walk in, just back from their trip, so the other 5 are forced to leave. They start debating what to do about the mysterious man, and Miguel says they have to forge the 3 stones and hand him the fakes. Right then, they discover the mysterious man is watching them from a distance, and he sends them a message through one of the workers, saying he'll wait for them at 10 at night in a certain spot to collect the 3 stones. That leaves Wilson only a handful of hours to forge them. Miguel leaves them to work on the stones and takes Lily out for a while. It turns out Ariel is keeping Juan on his boat, trying to get the treasure's location out of him, but Juan says he remembers nothing. Ariel guesses that if he finds the journals, Juan might remember through them, so he decides to search for them. Meanwhile, Lucas and Citlali go to buy supplies, and Lucas discovers his card is empty. He calls his mother, who admits she's the one who did it, since she thinks he's grown up and wants him to support himself financially. Lucas is furious, but he discovers Citlali managed to trick the shop owner and stole the tools they need, and the 2 run off to escape him. Elsewhere, we see Miguel taking Lily out. On the way, he gives her the necklace he found, and she loves it and decides to wear it. He then takes her to Ariel and tells them he needs his help, that he intends to hand the gang the 3 stones, but is afraid they'll cheat him and not release his father. So he asks Ariel to send his men along to protect them, not knowing Ariel is the gang's boss all along. Ariel agrees, on the condition that when they find the treasure, they give him the statue to display in his museum. Miguel has no choice but to agree, and he even hands him the journals, hoping he can analyze them and find some extra clue, since he's always been sharper than Miguel. Ariel talks with Lily and offers to have her stay with him until the handover, and she agrees. Miguel leaves them and goes. We then see Ariel taking Lily to his boat, and midday she makes the excuse of going to look for a drink. But she starts searching for Juan after growing suspicious of Ariel. She's stunned to find him in one of the rooms. Ariel sees her and gathers she's uncovered him, so he decides to lock her up with Juan. Elsewhere, Lucas decides to steal money from his family, since he's the one funding the rest of the gang until they reach the treasure, so he takes Citlali to introduce her to his family as his new girlfriend. There, Citlali sets about distracting his family and steals their card. Then the two leave and withdraw the money they need. That night, a message reaches Miguel from the mysterious man, telling him the handover spot has changed. We learn this is part of the plan, that they decided to change the time so that if Octavio secures the location like last time, he'll ruin their setup. Miguel arrives right on schedule and meets Ariel, who pretends he's only there to help. Ariel lies to Miguel, telling him Lily abandoned him and pulled out, and Miguel is stunned. A little later, the mysterious man arrives, and his men manage to seize the rest of Miguel's friends hiding all around. They threaten Miguel that if he tries anything, they'll kill his crew, so he hands over the keys. But the man realizes they're fakes and brings Ariel in himself to confirm it, and everyone present is stunned that Ariel is the gang's boss. Miguel produces the real keys and gives them over. Ariel wants to take them and leave, but Miguel stops him. We learn Miguel uncovered the truth about Ariel back when he visited his house, since he caught the scent of his father there, so he quickly set up a backup plan and bribed one of Ariel's men to stand with him. That man raises his weapon on Ariel, who's stunned to find himself surrounded on every side, and he orders his men to lower their guns. Miguel takes the rest of his gang and they escape. As for Lily and Juan, they're caught off guard when Ines and Octavio come for them, breaking them out after finding their location through the tracker Miguel planted in the necklace before giving it to Lily. Lily gathers that Miguel had suspected Ariel and decided to throw her in as bait for him. At last, Miguel and the rest of the gang come together, and this time, Juan is with them. The problem now is that the stones are with Ariel, but Miguel reveals that Ariel only had 2 real ones. He tricked them, planting the fake moonstone, and they never noticed. The rest of the gang are curious what Miguel plans to do with a single key, and they start thinking about where the treasure is. Lily guesses it's still in the pyramid with the king buried alongside it, and they decide to take a plane and fly there. The next day, they all gather at the plane and set off for the pyramid. Miguel finds a drink on board and shares it out among them, and soon after they grow drowsy and fall asleep. It turns out the drink was spiked. Octavio comes to a little later and sees the pilot grabbing a parachute and jumping from the plane, so he wakes the others fast. They discover the pilot left the plane on autopilot and jumped, which means it'll keep flying unless someone tries to stop it. None of them has ever flown a plane before, so there's no option but to jump. They start searching for any parachutes on board and find 3. The gang gathers that Ariel sent this pilot to strand them in the air and jump, and they realize they're close to the pyramid now and have to jump within minutes. Inez says she reached the plane first, and the drink wasn't there then, which means one of them brought it. So Octavio refuses to let anyone jump before they find out who among them is the traitor who brought the drink, and they all start suspecting one another. At first, they suspect Wilson because of the injury that appeared suddenly around his eyes, and we later learn he owes a large sum to some people who beat him when he was late paying them. But Wilson lies and says a group of young men beat him, then robbed him and fled. And he went home. They learn from tracing his phone route that he's telling the truth. Next, it's Miguel's turn, who says he went out to get hashish for his father, then returned to the hotel where they were staying. Lucas checks the phone route and assures them he's telling the truth. Lily starts to speak, saying she went home and did nothing out of the ordinary, refusing to mention that a man broke into her house and tried to kill her. We learn Miguel went to visit her afterward and is the one who saved her from that man, but Lily won't bring the matter up. Strangely, Lucas decides to cover for them too, even though he knows from the phone route that they're lying. Citlali says she went home and did nothing, while Ines says she also went home and fell straight asleep. Next, it's Octavio's turn, and he refuses to hand over his phone, as if he's afraid of something. By now, they're very close to the pyramid and are supposed to jump, but they're set on knowing what Octavio's hiding. As they fight, they shove Lily by accident and she tumbles out of the plane. Miguel grabs a parachute fast and leaps after her, managing to catch her, saving her life. Now everyone left on the plane grabs a parachute and jumps, but the problem is there's an odd number of them. Inez and Wilson suggest they take Octavio with them, but he refuses, afraid the parachute won't hold their weight, so he insists on staying behind and lets them go down. Lily and Miguel reach the ground, and she thanks him for saving her. Miguel seizes the chance to ask why that man broke into her house and wanted to kill her, but Lily refuses to tell him. The others reach the ground, and they all move toward the pyramid. Halfway there, Wilson sits down to rest, and Lily sits beside him. With her sharp eye, she gathers he's sick and hasn't told a soul. Wilson admits he has cancer and doesn't want to tell anyone, especially Miguel, so he won't be hurt over him. His condition is advanced, so it makes no difference to him whether they find the treasure, since he won't live to enjoy the money anyway. He's doing this to help Miguel reach his dream. He also says the people hunting him are after him because he took a large sum from them to pay for his treatment, and now he can't repay it. It moves Lily deeply. A little later, they continue toward the pyramid, having guessed Octavio will die on the plane. When they reach the pyramid, they discover the mysterious man got there before them, and seeing an empty chamber, they gather he found nothing. The shock is that Lily joins this mysterious man, revealed as the traitor who was among them, the one who drugged their drink as part of her plan with the gang. She leaves them and walks off with the mysterious man, who orders his crew to lock Miguel and the others in the pyramid, then leave and abandon them. Elsewhere, Lily reaches Ariel's house and hands him the small manuscript they found in the pyramid, the one where Francisco writes to his lover, saying he's returned to Spain and will take the treasure with him. As for the gang, they're caught off guard when Octavio manages to reach their location and frees them from the pyramid. Overjoyed he's still alive, they seize the chance to ask why he refused to hand over his phone. Inez steps in and admits that she and Octavio are together behind their backs, and Octavio was afraid to give them his phone in case they learned he'd been at her house and uncovered everything. The six escape the pyramid. As for Ariel, he takes Lily to the museum, where she asks what he'll do with her if they don't find the treasure. Ariel assures her he'll protect her from the people hunting her, but Lily knows full well he's far weaker than they are. They go back to discussing the treasure, and we learn that when Francisco reached Spain, he didn't have it with him. Lily learns from the books that he set out with 2 ships, but only one arrived, so she gathers the ship carrying the treasure sank at sea. They learn it went down 3 days after setting out, and by pinning the time of the sinking, they can determine the rough location where it sank, though it's an enormous area. Ariel is impressed by her sharp mind and wishes he could find the jaguar statue that's with the treasure to display in his museum and grow even more famous. It turns out Lily slipped something into his drink, so he loses consciousness, and when he comes to, he finds she's tied him to the chair and summoned the rest of her gang. Lily talks with Ariel and tells him she could never abandon her friends. Just then, Octavio and Inez are sitting at the surveillance monitor, watching everything unfold. Miguel gathers his friends to go search for the treasure, but they're caught off guard by the mysterious man walking in. Strangely, he refuses to help Ariel and shoots him in the leg. He then turns the gun on Miguel and starts reminding him who he is. We go back in time to when Miguel was a boy, to the day of the expedition that was going to end with Juan's death after the antiquities dealer's gang caught him until Miguel saved him, flinging his lighter at the fuel and running. We learn this mysterious man was the gang's leader, and that day his face was disfigured by the blast, which is why he's been plotting to finish Miguel ever since. In the present, he grips the gun and means to kill him, but Wilson steps in front to shield Miguel, so the mysterious man stabs him with a sharp blade. In a rush of shock, Miguel starts beating the mysterious man senseless, then goes to check on his uncle and finds he's still alive. As for the mysterious man, he tells Miguel he can never forgive him for the injury he caused all those years ago, and orders his men to bind them and leave them in the room. He leaves them, walks out, and locks the door behind him. He's left his lighter open so the fire suppression system kicks in and starts pulling the oxygen from the room, so they'll all die. The system does react, and Miguel orders them to hold their breath as long as they can. Citlali keeps working herself free and tries to open the door, but fails. Elsewhere, Inez and Octavio notice the footage in front of them is looping, and they gather something's going wrong, and someone planted this feed so they can't see what's happening. They rush to the room, and with Citlali's help, they manage to open the door, and Miguel and the rest of the gang get out. They're baffled that Miguel refuses to abandon Ariel and asks them to free him too. They want to take Wilson to the hospital, but he refuses and stands there talking with Miguel, saying he has cancer and doesn't want to spend his last few hours in a hospital. He asks them to let him see the plan through, and it moves Miguel, who has no choice but to grant his wish. They take a boat to search for the treasure. On the way, Wilson decides to hand Lily the passport with her new identity, and she thanks him warmly. Wilson seizes the chance to ask whether she means to pull away from Miguel like she did before, and Lily tells him she's not right for him. But Wilson sees them as a perfect match, and it's clear he's afraid of dying and leaving Miguel alone. A little later, Miguel learns his uncle has taken a turn for the worse, so he goes to sit beside him. Wilson knows he's dying now, so he asks Miguel to leave his body in the sea and not to grieve for him when he goes. He also asks him to keep his share once he finds the treasure. The moment he finishes speaking, he dies. Miguel breaks down and begins preparing the death rites the way Wilson wanted. Then they drop the body into the sea as he asked. Once the rites are done, they go back to thinking about the treasure. Miguel takes the map and realizes there's still another code on it. He manages to crack it, a pattern of stars clustered close together, and they work out the spot where those stars appeared in the year Francisco sailed with the treasure. They gather. This is the treasure's location. The spot is extremely narrow, and Francisco chose to pass through it out of fear his ship would be searched. But the difficulty of the route sank the ship. Hours later, they reach the spot, and Miguel, Citlali, and Lucas dive. Within minutes, they manage to find the shipwreck, and with it, a large box, so they haul it up and head back to shore. Now comes the time to use the keys. Miguel says Francisco was the sharpest of the three conquistadors and the mind behind the keys. He suspects Francisco designed the box to open with his key alone, deceiving his friends, which is why he chose to take the moonstone and left the other two stones for Ariel. Miguel tries to open the box, and the shock is that his theory works. At last, they find the treasure, a huge hoard of gold, and with it the jaguar statue. As they marvel at the gold, Ines senses movement and slips away to check if anyone's near. Suddenly, the mysterious man storms in. He's been watching them, and he means to kill them all and take the treasure. But Ines strikes in time and cuts down his men. Lily stabs him, and as he turns to shoot her in revenge, Ariel arrives and guns him down first. The man is dead. Ariel reveals he's called the police, already on their way, forcing them to hand him the jaguar statue. In return, he'll let them take the rest and flee before the cops arrive. They agree, but suddenly the statue's gone. Lily stole it, planning to escape on Ariel's boat, and to everyone's shock, Miguel shoots her. She dies, her body dropping into the water. The gang is gutted. Sometime later, Ariel takes the statue to his museum, while Miguel and the others divide the gold. Miguel keeps his share and Wilson's. For all their joy, they're heavy over losing Wilson and Lily. Days later, Miguel brings Juan to see the statue, proof they pulled off his life's dream and found the lost treasure. Juan is dazzled, and as always, credits Ariel's brilliance for leading them there, insisting Miguel had no part in it. But Miguel's used to his father's way now, so it rolls off him. Ines, meanwhile, is stunned when Octavio shows up with her son, and she thanks him warmly. Citlali buys a big house and moves her family in, while Lucas breaks away from his parents to live with her. Miguel settles his father into a room at the hotel and charges the staff with his care, then walks out. And there stands Lily, waiting for him. She never died. It was all an arrangement between them, so the gang hunting her would believe she was gone and stop searching. She's living under the new identity now, and the gang found a lookalike's body in the water, certain it's her. Miguel wanted to tell the others, but Lily refused, sure that the fewer who know, the safer they all are. The two decide to be together, and once the money runs out, to split again. Miguel, it turns out, has already begun hunting a new treasure, and he means to ask Lily to find it with him.